Throughout history, some warriors were so terrifying that their enemies didn't just lose battles, they lost sleep. We're talking about soldiers so deadly that centuries later, we're still making movies about them. From ancient Greeks who treated war like a lifestyle brand, to Vikings who made Europeans add a special line to their prayers, these are the military units that made history say, "Oh no." Let's meet the deadliest warriors who ever lived. The Spartans, the guys who made "This is Sparta" a personality trait. Imagine this, you're 7 years old. Most kids are learning to read. Spartan kids, they're learning to survive. The Spartan training program, called the Agoge, was basically ancient Greece's worst summer camp. Controlled starvation, daily combat, sleeping outside, and if you complained, well, you didn't complain twice. Only the toughest made it to age 20 to become full hoplites. And get this, they lived in military barracks until age 30. Their wives managed the house. Their entire job description? War. Just war. Their famous phalanx formation was like an ancient tank, overlapping shields, 2.5-meter spears, and absolute discipline. They never retreated, ever. At the Battle of Thermopylae in 480 BC, 300 Spartans held off 150,000 Persians for 3 days. They killed around 20,000 before being overwhelmed. That's a kill ratio of 1 to 95. Statistically, that shouldn't be possible. But here's the ironic twist. The Spartans' biggest enemy wasn't Persia, it was math. Only sons of full citizens could become Spartans. After losing 400 warriors at the Battle of Leuctra, they never recovered. Their population dropped from 8,000 to less than 1,000 in a century. Turns out, building a society only on war means eventually you run out of warriors. The Persian Immortals, the only unit with a 100% attendance rate forever. Why were they called Immortals? Because there were always exactly 10,000 of them. Soldier dies, instantly replaced. Soldier gets injured, new guy steps in. It's like they had an ancient subscription service for warriors. These guys were the elite guard of the Persian Empire. Scale armor, composite bows, short spears, and outfits so fancy they looked like they were going to war and a fashion show. The Immortals conquered the largest empire the ancient world had ever seen, from India to Greece, from Egypt to Central Asia, and they traveled in style, with servants, luxury baggage, and even personal companions. Remember those 300 Spartans? The Immortals were the ones who finally flanked them after 3 days. They got the job done, but they had one problem. Their equipment was basically decorative. Their wicker shields couldn't stop Greek spears. Their fancy scale armor, inferior to solid bronze. At the Battle of Plataea, Greek hoplites massacred them. And when Alexander the Great showed up, he wiped them out completely. Lesson learned, having a cool name doesn't replace having good equipment. The Roman legionaries, part soldier, part construction worker, all business. The Roman legionary was basically the Swiss Army knife of ancient warfare. Fight a battle? Sure. Build a road? Absolutely. Construct an aqueduct? Why not? These guys served for 25 years and did everything. Training was brutal. 30-kilometer marches with 40 kilograms of gear, daily combat practice, fortification building. They weren't just fit, they were practically indestructible. The Mubarzan, medieval Islam's professional duelists. Before some medieval battles, something strange happened. Both armies would just stop and watch. The Mubarzan were elite champions who rode out and challenged enemies to single combat. The Arabic word means those who step forth, and when they stepped forth, everyone paid attention. Imagine thousands of soldiers on either side just standing there, watching two guys fight to the death. Winner takes the morale. Loser's army might just go home. At the Battle of Yarmouk, a Byzantine general sent his best champion. The Mubarzan Khalid ibn al-Walid killed him within seconds. At Hattin, Saladin used his champions to psychologically destroy the Crusaders before the main battle even started. Frankish knights often refused Mubarzan duels. They knew losing a champion could cause mass desertion. But honor only works when both sides play by the rules. When Europeans started using crossbows and longbows, mounted champions became target practice. Richard the Lionheart ordered archers to specifically shoot Mubarzan. The Mongols, they just ignored duels entirely and attacked. By the 16th century, champion duels were extinct. War stopped being personal. War elephants, ancient tanks with tusks and anger issues. Imagine this. You're an ancient soldier. You've trained for years. You're ready for battle. Then suddenly, a 5-ton animal with swords strapped to its face comes charging at you. That's a war elephant, and for centuries they were the ultimate psychological weapon. These weren't just big animals. They carried towers with 4 to 6 archers. They wore metal armor. They had bronze blades on their tusks. Handlers controlled them with hooks behind the ears. Hannibal famously crossed the Alps with 37 elephants just to terrify the Romans. At the Battle of Trebia, it worked. Romans panicked. But elephants had one fatal flaw. They scared easily. Fire, panic. Flaming arrows, absolute chaos. And when elephants panicked, they didn't care whose side they were on. They trampled everyone. At the Battle of Zama, Roman general Scipio figured them out. He created corridors in his ranks. Hannibal's elephants charged straight through without hitting anyone. Psychological weapons only work once. After that, enemies adapt. The Vikings. So terrifying, Europeans invented a special prayer just for them. That was an actual prayer in churches across Europe for 300 years. The Vikings weren't just warriors. They were traders, explorers, and settlers. But mainly, they were really good at showing up uninvited. Their secret weapon were longships. These boats could sail across oceans and up shallow rivers. Vikings appeared without warning, raided coastal monasteries, grabbed everything valuable, and vanished before anyone could respond. They conquered England, settled Normandy, established trade routes to Constantinople, and, this is wild, they reached North America 500 years before Columbus. The great heathen army of just 3,000 Vikings conquered 4 of 5 Anglo-Saxon kingdoms. They founded Dublin, Kiev, and Novgorod. They raided Muslim Seville and Christian Paris in the same campaign. Entire kingdoms paid Danegeld, basically protection money, just to make them leave. But Vikings had one problem. They were terrible at staying. When they tried to rule England, Alfred the Great defeated them by building fortress networks. When they settled in Normandy, they became French within 2 generations. The Viking Age didn't end in battle. It ended in assimilation. Turns out, the scariest warriors in Europe really liked French croissants. The Berserkers, Vikings who went absolutely insane on purpose. Even among Vikings, some warriors were considered too crazy. Meet the Berserkers. The word comes from bearsark, bear shirt. These elite warriors wore animal pelts and fought in a psychotic trance. Before battle, they entered altered states through rituals, possibly hallucinogenic mushrooms or hyperventilation. The result? They felt no pain. They had superhuman strength. They were completely uncontrollable. They charged without formation, screaming, fighting their own shields, sometimes fighting completely naked. At Stamford Bridge, a single berserker held a bridge against the entire English army. He killed 40 men before someone finally speared him from below the bridge. But berserkers were one-use weapons. After the trance ended, they collapsed into deep exhaustion. They disobeyed orders. Sometimes they attacked their own allies. As Vikings converted to Christianity, berserkers were outlawed. In Iceland, going berserk was literally banned in 1123. Society realized that psychotic warriors don't mix well with organized armies. The Jomsvikings, Vikings with rules. Yes, really. If berserkers were chaos, the Jomsvikings were order. This was a brotherhood of Viking warriors based in a fortress called Jomsburg, exact location unknown, probably Pomerania. And they had something other Vikings didn't, a code of conduct. Only warriors aged 18 to 50 who passed combat tests could join. No families allowed. No talking about fear or showing wounds. Vengeance for fallen brothers was mandatory. Loot was divided equally. Basically, they invented military professionalism 500 years before anyone else. At the Battle of Hjörungavágr in 986, 60 Jomsviking ships faced 180 Norwegian ships. They lost, but fought to the last man without surrender. When captured, they demanded execution. Sagas describe Jomsvikings laughing while being beheaded, staring their executioners in the eyes. Then they vanished. In the 12th century, the Jomsvikings disappeared. Their fortress has never been found. Maybe destroyed by storms, maybe killed by their own suicidal code, maybe absorbed into Christian knightly orders like the Templars. But their influence was real. They proved Vikings could have discipline equal to Romans. The Knight Templars, warrior monks who invented banking and got burned for it. In 1119, a group of knights took vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience. Then they became the most powerful military and financial organization in medieval Europe. The Templars were founded to protect pilgrims traveling to the Holy Land. They wore white mantles with red crosses. They built 870 castles. At their peak, they had 20,000 members. Their military reputation was legendary. At the Battle of Montgazard in 1177, 500 Templars helped defeat 26,000 of Saladin's troops. Their code forbade ransom or retreat without orders. They fought to the death, always. But here's where it gets interesting. The Templars basically invented banking. Pilgrims could deposit money in Paris, receive a credit note, and withdraw the same amount in Jerusalem. No need to carry gold through bandit territory. This made them incredibly wealthy and incredibly dangerous to kings who owed them money. King Philip IV of France owed the Templars a fortune. His solution? Accuse them of heresy. In 1307, he ordered the simultaneous arrest of all Templars in France. They were accused of heresy, idolatry, and worse. The Grand Master, Jacques de Molay, was burned at the stake in 1314. Legend says de Molay cursed the Pope and the King as he burned. Both died within months. The Templar fortune? Never found. People are still looking. The samurai, the only warriors who considered suicide an acceptable career move. The samurai weren't just warriors, they were a way of life. They followed Bushido, a code emphasizing loyalty, discipline, and the idea that honorable death was better than shameful life. If captured or dishonored, samurai committed seppuku, ritual suicide. Training started in childhood, swordsmanship, archery, spear fighting, unarmed combat, poetry. Yes, poetry. These guys could kill you and write about it eloquently. At the Battle of Sekigahara in 1600, 160,000 samurai fought for control of Japan. Tokugawa Ieyasu won, founding a shogunate that lasted 268 years. Samurai also repelled two Mongol invasions in 1274 and 1281. Both times, typhoons destroyed the Mongol fleets. The Japanese called it kamikaze, divine wind. Legendary swordmaster Miyamoto Musashi killed dozens in duels. He once showed up late to a duel, killed his opponent with a wooden oar he carved on the boat ride over, then left. But the samurai didn't end in battle. They ended in modernization. During the Meiji Restoration, Japan abolished the samurai class, banned sword carrying, built a modern conscript army with rifles. The samurai's last stand, the Satsuma Rebellion, was crushed by peasants with rifles. 40,000 traditional samurai died. Their leader committed seppuku. Katanas couldn't defeat machine guns. A 1,000-year warrior culture ended in a decade. The Waffen SS, elite fighters, absolute fanatics, war criminals. This one's dark, but historically significant. The Waffen SS was the military branch of the Nazi SS, formed as Hitler's personal guard. They expanded to 950,000 soldiers in 38 divisions. Initial criteria: pure Aryan descent, minimum height 1.78 meters, perfect teeth. They had better equipment than the regular Wehrmacht. Their loyalty was to Hitler personally, not to Germany. Militarily, they were effective. On the Eastern Front, SS divisions held lines when the Wehrmacht retreated. In Normandy, the 12th SS Division, teenagers aged 16 to 18, held off the British for weeks. They fought to the death. Casualty rates of 90% were common. Soviets executed SS prisoners on sight. But the SS were also war criminals. At Malmedy, they executed 84 American POWs. At Le Paradis, they massacred hundreds of British prisoners. Einsatzgruppen, SS death squads, murdered 1.5 million Jews. After the war, the entire SS was declared a criminal organization at Nuremberg. Members were executed or imprisoned. Fanaticism makes effective soldiers. It also makes monsters. The Finnish Snipers, citizen soldiers who humiliated a superpower. In 1939, the Soviet Union invaded Finland with 1 million troops. Finland had 300,000. The math seemed simple. The Soviets expected victory in weeks. They were very, very wrong. Finnish snipers weren't special forces. They were citizen soldiers, farmers, hunters, ordinary people defending their homeland. Their equipment was basic: Mosin Nangtan rifles without scopes, skis, white camouflage, and one major advantage: they knew those forests like the back of their hand. They fought in -40 degrees Celsius. The Soviets weren't prepared. Finnish snipers used guerrilla tactics, ambushes, night attacks, then vanishing into the snow like ghosts. One sniper became legendary: Simo Häyhä, the White Death. In 100 days, he killed 505 confirmed Soviet soldiers with iron sights, no scope. The Soviets called Finnish soldiers white ghosts. The final tally? Soviets lost 700,000 troops, killed, wounded, captured, or frozen. Finland lost 70,000. That's a 10-to-1 ratio against a superpower. Finland eventually signed a treaty, ceding 11% of their territory, but they remained independent, the only country invaded by Stalin that stayed free. Sometimes you don't need the biggest army, you just need to know your terrain. From Spartans who turned war into an identity, to Finnish farmers who humiliated the Red Army, history's deadliest warriors shared one thing: they were willing to go further than anyone else. But every one of them eventually fell, to economics, to technology, to time itself. The lesson? No warrior is immortal, not even the ones called immortals. If you enjoyed this journey through military history, smash that subscribe button. We've got more stories where these came from. See you in the next one.
Thanks for watching. See you in the next video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Have a great day.